Tony Bennett seemed like the nicest guy. In music, he worked with everyone from Lady Gaga to Frank Sinatra. But behind those smiling photos was a dark secret. For decades he carried hatred for one singer that ate at him daily. Even his closest friends didn't know the truth. When Bennett was near death in 2021, he finally broke his silence. This wasn't just professional jealousy. This was personal, bitter, and had been hidden for over 50 years. Anthony Dominic Benedetto was born on August 3, 1926, at St. John's Hospital in Long Island City, Queens. It was the first time anyone in his family had been born in a hospital. A small but meaningful change for an Italian immigrant family that had always relied on home births. His parents had come from Italy in search of a better life, but what they found in New York was poverty and constant struggle. Their apartment in Etoria was crowded and cold, with coal stoves barely keeping them warm. Food was never certain, and Tony later remembered that a hot meal was not guaranteed in those days. Tony's father worked long hours as a grocer in Etoria, but his health was fragile. Years of poverty and labor had left him with a serious heart condition, and without life insurance, every setback weighed heavily on the family. Neighbors knew the Benedettos for their resilience, but they also saw how John's illness and the constant need for money kept the family close to collapse. In 1936, when Tony was just 10 years old, tragedy struck. John Benedetto died at the age of 50, leaving Anna alone to care for Tony, his older sister Mary, and his brother John Jr. The Great Depression had already left the city on edge, and now the family faced poverty more severe than before. Anna found work as a seamstress in a sweatshop, sewing piece after piece for long hours and meager pay. Rent was a constant worry, and Tony recalled times when the landlord threatened to evict them, or when their furniture was taken away because they couldn't keep up with payments. Soup kitchens became part of their weekly routine. Though the loss of his father was devastating, it gave Tony a sense of compassion and humility that never left him. That same year, Tony had an experience that showed just how extraordinary his talent was. At the age of 10, he was chosen to sing at the opening of the Triber Bridge on July 11, 1936. The bridge, a $60 million project that connected 3 boroughs of New York, was one of the city's great achievements. Standing there, a small boy on a massive stage, Tony sang before a crowd that included Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia himself. The mayor even patted him on the head afterward. It was a moment that Tony never forgot, proof that his voice could carry him beyond the struggles of his daily life. 13. The need to support his family pushed him into work. He became a singing waiter in Italian restaurants around Queens and Long Island City. Dressed in a worn white jacket, he served plates of pasta and pizza before stepping up to sing for the customers. His voice, rich and controlled even at that age, soon became the talk of the neighborhood. Patrons thought he was simply a talented boy, but the truth was that every note he sang helped put bread and milk on the table at home. Tony later said he learned more about people and music in those restaurants than anywhere else. The experience shaped his natural conversational style and taught him humility in the face of hardship. Tony's artistic side also showed early. He was accepted into the School of Industrial Art in Manhattan, a place known for shaping young talent in painting and design. Even before high school, he had been known at PS 41 as the class caricaturist, sketching classmates and teachers with a sharp. At the School of Industrial Art, he dreamed of a career as a commercial artist. Surrounded by creative energy in Manhattan, he honed his discipline and deepened his love for art. Later in life, he credited those years with influencing not only his painting but also the way he approached music. But dreams had to wait. 16, Tony dropped out of school to help his family survive. He found work as a copy boy at the Associated Press and later as a grocery clerk and elevator operator. The jobs paid little, but every dollar mattered. Despite the grind, he never gave up on singing. He performed at amateur nights in local clubs and theaters, feeding a passion that hardship could not extinguish. In 1944, at the age of 18, Tony was drafted into the United States Army. He served with the 63rd Infantry Division during the final stages of World War II, fighting in France and Germany. The war was brutal and he faced combat firsthand. When he could, he sang with military bands, bringing moments of comfort to soldiers living through the horror. The Battle of the Bulge left a mark on him forever. Nearly 19,000 American soldiers were killed and Tony witnessed friends die in villages destroyed. He remembered freezing nights in foxholes and the constant fear of being surrounded by German troops. These experiences turned him into a lifelong advocate for peace and justice. After the war, the GI Bill gave Tony the chance to study music seriously. He enrolled at the American Theater Wing school where he trained under vocal coach Mimi Spear. One piece of advice from her changed everything. She told him not to imitate singers but to learn from instrumentalists. Inspired by jazz musicians like Art Tatum and Billie Holiday, Tony developed a style that was his own. In 1949, the smoky clubs of Greenwich Village were alive with music, but few could imagine that one small stage would launch a legend. Anthony Dominic Benedetto, performing under the name Joe Barry, was struggling through sets night after night, hoping for a chance that seemed far away. Then by pure chance, Pearl Bailey walked into the village and she was already a star, known for her warmth and power, and she listened closely as he sang. Something about his phrasing and emotion stopped her cold. That very evening she made a decision that changed his life. She invited him to open her show, placing him in front of an audience that would finally see what she had seen in him. It was not only an act of kindness, but a bold step given the deeply divided world of entertainment after the war. Pearl Bailey didn't just share her stage, she shared her connections, introducing him to people who could make a difference. That single night set off a chain of events that would soon bring Bob Hope into his path. Not long after Bailey's endorsement, Bob Hope himself slipped into a nightclub where Bennett was singing. Hope was one of America's most famous entertainers, a man with the power to make or break careers. Bennett later remembered pouring his heart into the performance, unaware of who was in the audience. When the set ended, Hope did something unusual. He came backstage. Hope told the young singer, "You have something very special. I'm going to put you on my show." It was a promise few performers ever heard, and for Bennett it was the moment everything changed. Hope invited him to open his upcoming show at the Paramount Theater in New York, a stage where giants like Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby had performed. To a young singer fresh out of village clubs, it felt like stepping straight into history.